Juventini. Welcome back to the All Juve Cast channel, where it's all Juve all the time. All right, I'm Alberto, and I've got Omer with me today. Happy to celebrate 3 points. Okay, it was a much-needed 3 points against Empoli, and we got it. Now, foul points and all that. We'll get into that. But it was a must-win, and Juventus did get the job done, winning 3-2. Before we get too deep into this, we are going to first of all say hi to everybody. Okay, so ciao tutti, Mohammed in here. Good morning. Empoli stinks. Yes, yes. Bob, good morning as always, my friend. Alex B, buongiorno, buongiorno. Yes, we got the win. And Bobby saying, let's start the habit. Absolutely. Juventino MC, ciao, ciao. Now, let's get into this one. So, real quick, if you're tuning in on all your audio outlets, get over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Okay, that's where all the fun takes place, including match day lives, including some news videos, updates, and every now and then some hot topic takes. And yeah, get over to YouTube and subscribe. For everybody that's joining us live in live chat, there's a couple ways to support the pod. Should you choose, would be through the super chat and whatnot. Otherwise, head over to the sponsor, stripedtartsapparel.com, and get yourself some awesome merch, and that helps support the pod as well. Now, without further ado, my man, Omer, let's get to the lineups. We were going to see, we knew that Max was going to be dealing with a depleted roster. Ake, Sule, Miretti making it in there. We knew the guys out: Chiellini, Rugani, Sandro, Bernardeschi, McKennie, Dybala. Chiesa's been out for a while, will be out for the remainder of the season, and Caio Jorge just suffered a brutal injury. So not much for reserves, and trying to see what Max would dial up, especially in the midfield and whatnot. But what he came up with was Szczesny, Danilo, Bonucci, De Ligt, and Pellegrini, with a midfield of Zaccaria, Locatelli, and Rabiot, with Cuadrado, Vlahovic, and Keane starting. So what did you think about the lineup there, Omar? For me, it was pretty much exactly what I would have expected, and based on Mac's press conference as well. Figured that's pretty much what we were going to see and play out in a 4-4-2 or that kind of 3-5-2 shift. But Omar, pretty much as you expected.
Yeah. What other options do we have? Maybe Arthur in, but we know Max loves Rabiot. I would have dropped Cuadrado as well, but we know Max. We know which players he likes, so it was pretty straightforward. Not many players to choose from anyway. So exactly what we expected.
Yeah, exactly how we play out. And actually, I have to apologize. Not Locatelli in the middle, Artur. My apologies. It was actually Artur started. Locatelli started on the bench. But yeah, Rabiot and Zaccaria on either side. So for me, if we were going to go into this, I wanted to see pressure and physicality out of these guys. Because if you're going to run a midfield and it's going to be Rabiot and it's going to be Zaccaria out there, it has to be physical, and there has to be pressure in order to make it work, because you are going to sacrifice a little bit in that technical ability. Agreed there, Omer?
Yeah, I was expecting us to press a lot higher than we did, but we'll get to it in the recap of the match.
Absolutely. And nice of our friend Mr. Lucci here to join.
Good morning, gentlemen.
A little unexpected surprise there with his laptop, but nice to see you here, bro.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for
morning.
letting me on, even though I'm late.
It's all good. It's all good. Happy to see you. Now, we just finished talking about the starting lineups. Pretty much what we expected, given the circumstances. A lot of Juventini calling for, some of the younger guys to start or whatnot, but I kind of didn't expect it. I was hoping that we could get this thing sealed to get the younger guys a little bit of a run. Not even a bunch of them, maybe just one, right, to get some minutes in there. But we'll get to all that. Now let's get to the actual highlights. I'm just going to pull up right here. and we're going to kick it off with a nice counter that we got early. So within the first, and this has kind of been the trend, we will push, we will be aggressive at the beginning of matches. And the opening 10 to 15 here, Juve actually had some clear-cut opportunities. This one being the best out of them on a fast break there. Vlahovic, you see Zakaria making his run. We do have steps on him because you have Keane here as well. Two defenders back after Vlahovic did a fantastic job turning in the middle there. And he finds Zakaria. Zakaria almost slots this home like his first goal with Juve, but it hits that inside of the arm of the keeper and actually drags across goal and goes wide. So that one hurt. Thought we'd take the lead there, but Juve didn't have to wait too long before finding one, and it was actually Rabiot making a good run. Pellegrini found him. And it was really our only option because there was something I noticed, and we'll talk about it later, but really our only option. But he plays it forward to Rabiot. Rabiot takes 2 steps in and takes a look and has a beautiful cross that's right on the money to Moise Kean, who makes no mistake. This was also good too. We need Moise Kean to get goals. We need him to put in good shifts because, again, we are injury riddled. So everybody's going to be important. So he actually had a really, really good showing. So 1-0 Juve. Great start, okay? And of course, what goes across all of our minds? It's the same. Are we going to completely let up and whatnot? Even at this point, Juve was below in percentage for possession, okay? And we pretty much trailed possession the entire match. So, yeah, the style points, we'll talk about style points, but a big, big start for Juve. This is absolutely frustrating one. So frustrating. But once you didn't get that clearance on the initial, this was just a mess. And you could see like they're just swatting around at it. Bonucci's batting at it and just hits the Empoli player right in front of him. And then it literally just sits perfectly for a toe poke into the bottom corner. And Szczesny's just left standing there. This is after that first clearance that doesn't work out and it literally falls in that spot. There's absolutely nothing. And you know it's just going to be a gong show. I totally was waiting for it to go in the net. You guys feel the same way?
The way it stuck there and no one was doing anything about it, you knew it was going in the net.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's just ugly goal. But again, fell in the worst spot, and when it's in there like that, there's really nothing unless Szczesny just decides to go through there and try and get through, that 10 legs to find it. There's really not much you can do. Kind of sucks.
It was in the air because Juve were messing around in defense. They were passing dangerous passes and the indications were there. I kind of felt we were going to concede some dumb goal from misunderstanding in the back.
Yeah, it's frustrating. So we go 1-1. We go level. Now, we did take the lead going into the half, which was big, and thankfully. So found a nice another counter. Quadrado was on the verge of me having a meltdown on the watch along because he slowed everything right down here. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then he fakes this shot and slides it over to Vlahovic, who draws his defender deeper, but then takes one step back. And this is just a cool finish. I mean, he, despite what's going on around him, feints with the right, slots it over to the left, and then puts it home. And 2-1. Vlahovic gets his goal, and that's big for Juve going into half with the lead. We wanted that lead. Again, we got to set the tone at the start of the second half. That was my big thing. Come out and set the tone, try and seal this thing and get there quickly so that you can get some changes. In terms of what we were seeing in the first half, my only thing again was the amount of pressure and getting that ball back quicker and stop letting Empoli hang around and linger around. That's all. Just control more. That was really the only knock I had. The counters were good. You could see they were cheating a bit with Cuadrado, which I think if you're going to play that way, you kind of have to. But I don't know. It was a mixed feelings first half for me. Omer, what do you think first half?
Definitely mixed feelings. Look, there's nothing I like more than a goal right before halftime. It's great for morale. But kind of left a sour taste, mainly because of Zakaria and the dumb goal we conceded. I didn't feel completely safe, but let Dushan, let us take a little breath and relax.
Yeah, Lucci, how about you? Mixed feelings?
Yeah, definitely. I think we could have did a little more. Like Omer said, that goal, even though we scored late, their tying goal kind of just made you feel like it was kind of ugly. You know, it was just back and forth, and you weren't really comfortable, although you were up 2-1 going into the second half, or I wasn't anyway.
Yeah, I hear that. Positives? The positives were, despite us making it a rough day at the office for Vlahovic and even Moise Kean, they were both doing very, very well. I did like the way Moise Kean was playing very, very tightly to Vlahovic. I really like that. I think the biggest thing for us, one of the biggest detriment to us, was the pace and tempo we were playing with when we did have the ball. I think it just needed to be ramped up a bit. But you see this style, and the reason I call it unsustainable, because I can't help but think against a tougher opposition, Vlahovic is not going to have that type of day. Constantly surrounded around 2 or 3 guys, and when you up the quality of those 2 or 3 guys, that's a long, long day at the office. Vlahovic did extremely well in this match, playing in that manner. But that is not an easy way to make a living. So, that's just one of the things. But the positives, him and Keane were up to it. And Artur was balling. He was everywhere. And he put in a lot of work defensively where he gets a lot of flack. So Artur was doing great. Now we get to second half. And of course, as Omer touched on, we saw Locatelli enter the match. And we get to see Locatelli and Artur, but unfortunately at the cost of yet another injury. So far, the early reports on Zakaria, holy, my mic was about to drop. So far, on the early reports, 20 days out for Zakaria. So that's going to hurt as well. Okay, so, man, but Locatelli and Artur, based on this, we're going to get to it after if we're going to see it a bunch more. Okay, but we only saw about 8 minutes of it before we get to the second half.
Yeah.
Second half, there's not much going on, to be honest, for quite a bit of it. I wanted Juve to come out, set the tone, and take over. They kind of didn't, but we were able to find another goal, make it 3-1. It was a counter. Cuadrado did slow things down, but then ended up finding Morata. Morata obviously coming in for Keane. Morata puts a bad pass here. This touches everything from Vlahovic. Incredible touch. Take it back on in stride, pop it forward, and then the finish. Another quality finish from Vlahovic. 3-1. Things are sealed. Let's go. 3-1. Sealed. I like it. Maybe get one young guy in there. Hold on. Again, when you allow teams to play, okay, and this, you let them continue to have hope that there's a chance there. We see a scramble off a free kick. It was a hell of a dangerous free kick, but Rabiot heads it, and it's going in the net. Bonucci, out of nowhere, like an incredible job to head this thing, goes off the upright and out wide, but unfortunately Empoli retains possession. They come back. You see a cross in here. This is the frustrating part. We're still kind of in the sequence after that free kick. Pellegrini is over here, okay? Rabiot's over here, so they're both still on their off sides, right? Cuadrado is out of the screen here, where he has obviously switched sides with Pellegrini after the free kick and everything like that. They still haven't gone back to normal positions. Where on earth have you gone, Cuadrado? Where are you? Look at this. What is going on? There's absolutely nobody after the switch here of guys that's supposed to be on their side. There's nobody there. You have De Ligt, Bonucci, Danilo in the mix there, and that is it. So after the switch, there needs to be a midfielder here and another fullback. There's nobody. Absolutely nobody. Ball slots over there. Whether Szczesny needs to do better on this or not, regardless, why on earth is this happening in a sequence where they still have control? So we still unfortunately see letdowns in focus and concentration from this team. And this is a frustrating one. And when you watch it back full screen and you see where Cuadrado is, like, he's watching it. He's just watching it unfold and nowhere near. So Rabiot, initially everybody's like, well, that's his side. Where is he? After the free kick, they were on different sides and they maintained that. And a couple other guys let their marks go. This was pretty frustrating. Omer.
You know what's more annoying here? Like, look at all the slides. Look at the slides of our goals and their goals. Look how many of their players are inside our area, basically free. And each one of our goals, we had one player who ended up scoring, but we don't get enough bodies forward and into the area. And that's a problem because look what it caused. It just causes havoc and you get goals from it. If Empoli can get goals from it, we definitely can.
It's true.
Yeah. So I disagree with Alex P here on this.
I was just
going to
say that
both Rabiot and Luca are away from their spots, but they did not have time. He said they had time to get back to their sides. No excuse. Well, they didn't because Empoli gained possession immediately after this free kick. So the previous slide here where they hit the upright after the Bonucci clearance, where is it here?
I think it was before. Alex just doesn't want to blame Cuadrado.
After this right here, the ball comes out to the wing right about here, and they maintain possession. So if these two guys are going to go completely to the opposite side, these two guys on this side, there's one of them, Cuadrado, need to come back over. They didn't have that time because Cuadrado has to go out here to put pressure on the ball. They all have to go out and get to their men. So everybody remains in their spots. They did not have time to make that switch. They literally got it out here and then just came around to here and crossed it right in. There was no time, in my opinion, for them to get back to their spots. Cuadrado's going to take the heat on that one for me. So recycled back before they made their play. But again, in our final third, that is not where you switch sides back positionally. It would have been a worse mess. So no, I cannot agree with they did not have time, in my opinion. Do you guys agree? Do you guys think they had time? Omar?
I don't.
Luke?
Especially because Pellegrini wasn't he part of the wall off the free kick?
He was the one-man wall. And
So
Rabiot was behind him because he was the one that headed it that was going back post. So I just, there's no time there.
Yeah.
I can't give it to those guys. The guys that ended up on that side after the free kick needed to be more aware. So just, again, recycle possession. It's still in your final third. They had it to the outside flank and they had it. And regardless, even if you believe they could have switched sides, Cuadrado made no effort to do that anyway. So regardless of what you're arguing here, none of them decided on anything. And in the end, nobody took their man on the side that they were on at the time.
Well,
frustrating. Now,
so just to add on to that, Al, Cuadrado went out to that side to close down the ball because it went there. But then after that, he disappeared. Where'd he go?
Yeah.
He's got to stay there.
Yeah. Because they made one pass into the middle and then the cross came right back into our area. When they're there, you just can't do that. But Cuadrado, he went out, put pressure, and then stayed there.
It was kind of a system.
So frustrating.
It was kind of a system. Like every time we went out from their attacks, they gave the ball to Arthur, and someone was running down the left, and Arthur was looking for him. That's what Quadrado was doing. He was looking for that pass for a counter attack, but
Yeah.
the ball didn't fall to Arthur, so he
he
didn't
didn't have
just
the ball.
track back.
And that's the thing. This is one of the things too. In order for this counter thing to work better, we got to cheat with some of the guys. You have to cheat at times in order to make that break. And that's, neither here or there, but everybody can have their own opinions on how they feel about that. But in order to get the best of that, you really got to do that and cheat a bit sometimes. We close off. It's 3-2. Max makes absolutely no changes down the wire. You could see guys like Arthur completely gassed and whatnot, but you knew he was not going to pull a young guy in to see this one out. He was going to have the faith in these guys, and we'll get into that. But here's the last-ditch opportunity for Empoli. It was actually a very dangerous cross, and Bonucci makes a clearance, but it does go off the Empoli player, and luckily just wide of goal on that clearance. This is how we wrap things up, and 3-2 victory for Juventus. We had to have the 3 points. Was it pretty? No, not by any means. Do I really care? A little bit. Not as much as I usually am, because we just had to get 3 points, and there were still positives because there are building blocks there. That's the one thing I always say. There's building blocks, and there was building blocks in this one, but you absolutely have to find something more, in my personal opinion. But the follow through is going to be everything. And that's all I can think about when I look at this game. There was more signs of building blocks and things we can do. But in my personal opinion, you still shouldn't have come out of a game without controlling against Empoli. There's just something that's missing, whether it be the pressure, whether it be, there's just something missing, in my personal opinion. But I'm very, very happy for the 3 points. I think it would have been perfection if we could have controlled more, because we could have probably just got the young guys a little bit of game time. But at the end of the day, pretty battered team, need the 3 points. The guys above us keep slipping up, and we got to make them pay. Ultimately, the 3 points are what counts. But now we'll get into a little bit of performances and everything like that. But real quick, your guys' recaps, your guys' feelings at full time. Let's start with Lucci.
Yeah, we'll take the 3 points, like you said, and I said this yesterday. 3 points is 3 points, but it's just too close for comfort, in my opinion, against a team like Empoli. If that's, Fiorentina or Verona, we might be looking at a completely different outcome. So, not even to mention the top teams. So, I just think we need to tighten some things up. Barring injuries, yes, I understand, but we just need to be better, I think.
Yeah. Omer?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Lucci. We should have dominated this match. Yes, a lot of injuries, and it's sort of an excuse because these guys are pretty jaded and we have a tough schedule ahead. That's why I really expected Max to use some of the youngsters just to give the other guys some, because Fiorentina is not an easy game. Fiorentina away is not an easy game, and it's coming up on Wednesday. So I wasn't overly enthusiastic with our performance, but a win is a win, especially when other teams drop points. It's massive and could be good for us going forward. But some of the individual performances are very concerning, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. Now, let's get to player ratings, and then let's get to our Striped Arts Apparel man of the match, okay? So real quick reminder, everybody, like the video while you're here, okay? If you're new, subscribe to the channel and whatnot. But we're going to pull up the player ratings. I'm pretty sure it's going to be unanimous on the man of the match. Maybe somebody might surprise us in their choice or whatnot. But real quick, let's go through just everybody's ratings and see if we agree, if we disagree or whatnot. It's always tough to make these with the team because we all see the game so differently sometimes, but it makes for interesting stuff. Tech gets a 5.5. Slight drop. And that's just because there were times there where we needed a little bit more command, and he seemed a little bit off. little bit off in terms of command. And maybe that second goal, like I said, maybe could have been a little bit better, but I was more frustrated in the laps there. But 5.5 from Tech. Danilo, 6. Not plus, not negative, just steady at 6. Bonucci, 5.5. Still looks a little shaky. Had some questionable moments in there. Looks a little off positionally, maybe. Just trying to get back into the rhythm. He was out for a bit. Delict, 6 in this one. You could argue maybe 6.5. I don't know. 6. Pellegrini, 5.5. Bit of a mixed bag from Pellegrini in this one. He had a couple questionable decisions, especially the one where he chested in our own area right back into the mixer. That was a little bit sketchy. A little bit sketchy there.
You know who he learned that from.
I know. His replacement. He was just trying to fill Sandro's shoes.
But like,
sketchy.
Why would they both do it? Is someone telling them to do that? It's very strange.
That's a weird call.
Yeah.
In that. Like it's crazy. But 5.5, and I say fair. A mixed bag because Pellegrini did have some dangerous balls that he put into the area, and we almost latched on to a couple of them. So it's a little bit harsh. I think
the first goal he was involved in too.
Yeah, a lot of errant passes from quite a few players in this one. And again, the off the ball movement at times for us becomes non-existent. So it becomes very, very difficult, but we'll see. Rabiot, 6.5, decent outing for Rabiot, couple passing errors here and there, but outside of that, physically did a really good job between him and Artur in winning the ball back for us. And he didn't hurt us too bad in possession. Artur, 7. Solid showing for Artur. Again, everywhere on the pitch, doing his job at a good level. Locatelli, 6. Looked good with Arthur, but I think you could see he still needs time to sort out that position because he's so used to playing where Arthur was, and at times wasn't true to the position he was filling in for when Zakaria got hurt. Zakaria, I see a lot of ratings for him, but with half an hour, a lot of 5.5s out there for Zakaria in this game, but I don't really know. We didn't really judge or put a rating to him. So Cuadrado, 6. Mixed bag again, but he worked hard and was involved in a goal. So 6. Vlahovic, 7.5 to 8. Man of the match. It was a tough day. We were asking a lot for this guy and the way we wanted to play constantly on multiple defenders. Did a fantastic job. Keane, 6. Good show and a goal. Worked closely to Vlahovic. Needs to build off that. Morata did well coming in, but the game plan had changed quite a bit, and Empoli was pretty open. They were coming after it. So 6 for Morata. Guys, man of the match for me, it's a no-brainer, and it's Vlahovic. Easily in this one for me. And it doesn't even have to. We don't even have to dive into it because everybody could see it and what he brings, and he is very, very close to a total complete striker. Omer, your man of the match?
Yeah, obviously Vlahovic, and a shout for Artur. But he's a striker. What else can you ask? 2 goals. Did his job fantastically. Deserved the man of the match.
Yep.
There you go. Lucci?
100%. Not even a question about it.
Yeah. So there you go. There's our man of the match. Now let's get to the good stuff. We think that there's, Juve still allowing a little too much in our opinions on play to the opponents. For me, our play is still a bit too stagnant as well. We become very, very predictable. We move the ball kind of slowly. The weird thing that I saw in this one was if you were going to play 3-5-2, which it kind of took that shape, Cuadrado was cutting in centrally. Once the ball got over to a certain extent, we had nobody on the flanks because we were holding back the defenders like Danilo, Bonucci, Delict, and even Pellegrini. If we were going down one side, when we looked to switch that field, it's not there. Even Pellegrini would find himself then in the center of the pitch, and then there's nowhere else to get the ball beyond. So there was a really weird awkwardness in our play. It worked yesterday, luckily, against Empoli because we were able to punish them and mostly on counters. But again, it's a tough way to make a living. So be interesting to see what we dial up. Vlahovic and Keane, absurd amount of work that we're asking them to do. Now, Artur and Locatelli. We saw them for a little over a half. And what did you guys think of Locatelli and Artur finally getting to see them together again? It sucks that it was at the cost of Zakaria, but what did you guys think on what we saw? Let's start with Lucci.
It's a promising look. I think they can do well together. They're obviously going to need some time. And again, this is an Empoli team, so take it with a grain of salt. You know, when they're playing against a tougher midfield, a tougher team, it might not be easy. They might have a couple games where they don't look so good. And that's the thing with Vlahovic and Keane too. We're sending them long balls all day. Like if they're playing against top defenders, that's going to be a lot tougher than it was yesterday. So we'll see how. I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of Locatelli and Artur, obviously with all the injuries. So hopefully they get some chemistry going and it turns out well. But it's a promising look.
Yeah, Omer.
Yeah, look, even Allegri touched on it and said they can play together, and he basically has no other options. I'm pretty sad that it has come to this, and the only way we'll see them play together is because we have tons of injuries.
Yeah.
But it does look promising. They both look like players who understand football, understand movement, and can pass the ball, short passes, long passes. And their link up was pretty promising. Again, it's Empoli. It's not like a top level midfield. So, like Lucci said, with a grain of salt. But it does look better than anything else, considering, ball movement in the middle than everything we've seen so far this season. So, no other options, and maybe it will be for the better.
Yeah. Now, Anthony coming in here with, I believe we all need to adjust our game-by-game expectations for this team. The injury list is crazy. He even said earlier on this one that we were missing 7 starters.
Ooh.
I don't know if it was that many starters.
I don't think so.
No, but regardless, we have to be honest with ourselves. It wasn't like we were, lighting it up when everybody was healthy for that period of time, and we weren't getting the best out of some of those guys either. So it's kind of tough. I don't know. I still believe this team is capable of much more. And the building blocks are there. Locatelli and Artur, what we're talking about right now, you could see how they work together. They do well. And again, it helps support that offense. And you could see that it was a little bit easier to turn those counters when those guys are in there because Locatelli's looking. Locatelli also had a chance on a cross in from Pellegrini that it was a little bit tougher because he's diving down towards it, but he found the right spot in the area. He was getting in there and just unfortunately got the header all wrong, and it went over the net there. But Locatelli can support the attack quite well. This is a building block we have to go with, and it sucks that it came to this in order to get it, in order to see it. But in my personal opinion, you've got to go with it. You absolutely have to go with it if you're Max. Don't take any chances. This was as close possession-wise as we've been in a while. I think 3 games ago, we actually led in possession against the opponent. I can't remember the opponent, but outside of that, we just give up too much. So it's very important if you're going to continue to play in this manner. It makes life difficult if you're going to have 2 kind of more physical bodies like Rabiot and Zakaria in there, in my personal opinion. So I think you got to have that guy that can, see that pass and spring that player loose. And it allows the guys to cheat a bit if you're going to play that counter system too. If once Dybala comes back, I think he needs to play that in a manner Cuadrado did, which was cheating a bit. Stop coming back so much, and cheat a bit. But will Max do that? That's why I've always been saying for a while here, he's kind of got to sacrifice something. Max does.
Yeah.
He can't have it all, right? So it's tough, but this one plays out a lot differently with Dybala in the lineup. I'm not so sure I like the counter game with Dybala in the lineup. What do you guys think about that?
Omer, go ahead. Yeah.
You're muted, Omer.
Mute.
Sorry. Look, Quadrado and Dybala are two very different players in the way they play. And it's actually weird seeing Quadrado does what Dybala should do and vice versa. Like when Quadrado has the ball, he does things a midfielder should do. And when Dybala has it, he drops all the way back. I don't know. Like didn't want, like people said Locatelli and Arthur wouldn't make it together without seeing them play together on the field, and it's pretty weird. And it's kind of the same. I won't make any judgments on it because I haven't seen these guys play together yet, like in a controlling manner in a game against the top side. So I won't have any judgment on it. I think it might work, but something will be sacrificed, like you said. Something has to be sacrificed.
I just think if you're looking at this team, if you're going to play a trident and Dybala is going to be one out of those three on the side there, I don't think it suits him to play in a counter-attacking setup. If he was if we were playing two forwards and you ditch Morata and then it's like Dybala, Vlahovic, then I see it working out better. But if we want to go Morata, Vlahovic, Dybala and play a counter-attacking, I don't see it working because one of those guys always has to do quite a bit more defensively in this setup. So I just see the breakdown there. And when I look back to these matches recently that Dybala was involved in before he got hurt, man, he was coming back a lot. He was way back there. And then by the time he gets up there, it's either a counter that doesn't work, or we just go into our buildup that ultimately doesn't have a lot of end product with that. So I don't know if I like it for when Dybala's in the lineup going with that trident. And I know a lot of the talk before was we have to go with the trident. Morata, Vlahovic, Dybala. I'm starting to think I might go away from that. Yeah. Would you guys go away from it? Does it make sense what I'm saying? Do you see it or stick with the trident once Dybala's healthy?
So 2 things for me. I think when you have Dybala and Quadrado both kind of playing off that right side, because Quadrado likes to get further, so it makes Dybala drop back, which then he's playing catch up when it comes to the counter, but you need him up there, so you're kind of losing something that way. With that, I still think I'm gonna die on this tree on the 4-2-3-1 with you play Morata off the left, you got Dybala in the middle, then Quadrado, Ake, Bernardeschi, whoever off the right, because they're going to do their defensive duties, right? For the most part, they're going to track back. They're going to do what they have to. So then you're not sacrificing Dybala to drop all the way back, which will help Vlahovic, obviously. So I'm still not sold on the trident. Maybe they need some more time to get their chemistry together and things like that. But I don't know. I would try something else. I don't see why not until something sticks.
Yeah, Omer, what do you think?
Yeah, do we have the luxury of trying something else? Because like we've seen in the past 2-3 weeks, teams are dropping points. Like it's very important to get each win we can. And I wouldn't go like against Villarreal. I wouldn't have tried a new formation, but Max did. And maybe against Empoli, okay, we have some easy matches, but the load of games, the overload of games is just crazy. And look, guys are getting injured left and right. And so we have to shift against our will, the style of play and the positions. So adding to that, intentionally changing formation and style of play, I think it will do more damage than good right now.
But I also think you throw teams off that way. If you're not playing, running the same lineup every time, maybe someone's not expecting it.
You can if you are the one who usually dominates games, but we haven't dominated any game recently.
Here's my thing is if we're going to, in fact, go with this setup, right, where it's a 4-4-2 turns into a 3-5-2, I'm just saying I think you split up Morata and Dybala And if Dybala's out there, I think then you look towards the left side and maybe Bernardeschi being one of those outsides there that can close out that mid. And then Dybala like on the right. If Dybala's not in there, Morata, then you see the Cuadrado make up that right side and do it. I think you need a little bit of a change there and mix it up just because of what you're going to be asking defensively. And not only that, it prevents Dybala from coming back so deep. And I just think it's a little tweak. We're not necessarily going from things completely different and completely outside of our realm, which we've had to do anyways because of the injuries. We've literally we're going into March this week and we have not established ourselves. Now, I see a lot of Juventini talking about, and Anthony talks about it all the time. No consistency in the lineup. No consistency in the lineup. Look, how do you help that? An established system so that guys know their roles and understand what they need to do so you can be a next man up. Continuing to just say, oh, well, we don't have our guys. We don't have our guys. Well, what are you doing to combat that? So I'm just saying, I don't mind what he's trying to do in this 4-4-2 going into the 3-5-2, whatever. I just think it changes once Paulo comes back and you can stick with it, but you're not going to get that trident. And I was just asking the question, is that a way we should be looking, is away from the trident, splitting them up? When you look at a depth issue, I think it also makes sense to break it up. So this trident that we were all hoping for, I think it might be time to get away from it. That's just me. Like, I think once Dybala gets back, I personally, my opinion, I split it up. That's it.
Oh, it was more similar. It wasn't like a real trident when Dybala played. The way I saw it, he was coming on me more centrally. And it was like a diamond, basically, with and McKennie was the one who was making the runs to the right more with Cuadrado. So Dybala is always playing like a free roam type of play. He's never really had a solidified position on the field. He's just everywhere. So when he comes back, it's pretty much the same, in my opinion. It wasn't a trident to begin with, and it wouldn't look like that with him either. But from what I've seen from Cuadrado, if Cuadrado is in the lineup, then trident is not the way to go at the moment.
Yeah,
I agree.
So that's the thing, and Lex, saying still need to find our identity. I think so. I don't think we're that far off.
That's a problem, though.
What's that?
That's a problem, though. We're in March and we still don't have an identity. That's a problem.
Alex is right. March is when Allegri's teams peak. We're peaking soon, baby. Let's go. These teams above us are dropping, and we're ready to peak. Let's go. I hope it happens. I always used to make the jokes about we peak in March under Max. We peak in March under Max. We can make things interesting. We just got to get the job done. The biggest thing for yesterday was getting the 3 points and getting out of this draw thing, okay? But the building blocks are there. It's all about the follow-through. So we got to watch Max closely, see what he does, see what happens. But this team, he's not far off from figuring things out. We just need to learn to play with the ball better. It's it's still the same thing of regaining possession quicker and then retaining it. In yesterday's match against Empoli, there was a span of probably 15 minutes where we gave the ball up continuously and cheaply. That just can't happen. That kills you when you're playing strong opposition, and really, really puts you under. In the past little bit here, it hasn't even been that strong of opposition that has hurt us. Luckily, we've remained unscathed in terms of losses because there haven't been any, but it has hurt us. And it could, arguably, depending on how everybody sees it, taken away a couple points in a match here or there, right? So but the building blocks are there. We got to see if he can put it all together. Serie A table, guys. AC Milan, 27 games played, 57 points. Inter, 26 matches, 55 points. Napoli, 26 matches, 54 points. Juve, 27 matches, 50 points. Okay. Atalanta, 25 matches played, 44 points. Lazio, 26 matches, 43 points. Man, one game in hand for Inter and Napoli. Um, you know, everybody still says, even our own manager, everybody's still, we're just kind of hanging out. We're top 4 is our main target. Okay. But God, the way I'm wired and the way I'm built, we can seriously pull something crazy out, guys. We can seriously pull something crazy out. Tell me I'm just being crazy. It's not gonna we're not gonna come that close and just end it for me here, or are you guys I just have that little glimmer that these guys are gonna choke and we can get very, very close to pulling something crazy out. What do you guys think?
Never, Al. Never let your hopes die, because then you have nothing to watch the games for. We're Juve. We're realistically we're aiming for top 4, but we're always looking to first place. And look, you can see the deficits in some of those sides. Like Inter haven't scored in like 3 or 4 matches. They're failing to score. Their players are really out of form. And Milan have a mentality issue. They control games, they find an early goal, and then at some point they just lose it. And Napoli are always a mixed bag. They can be, Barcelona of 2010, and they can be just the same Napoli we've seen for the last decades who always drop the ball.
Yeah.
So you can hope. It's good to hope. It gives you a reason to continue going forward. Ask religious people; they'll tell you all about it. And I don't know, man. I'm always hoping. I look. It's not that far off. Like we still have Inter. If we win against Inter, that's crazy, man.
And that's the thing. You have that one match, and outside of that match, it's a very favorable schedule for Juventus. So it's not crazy to think about. But like Jeremiah's saying here, we need to keep winning every single game until the end. I'm optimistic. Animesh reiterates what Omer is saying. If Inter don't find their scoring form soon, we're right in there. And Alex, if the top 3 keep choking and we do our job, it's going to be close. King Isa says, Al is crazy considering our injury record this season, and that's cool. I'm cool with it. I am a little crazy, but I tell you what, if we get close and we have a shot at winning that, I'm going to jump right out this window that's right next to me, okay? I'm going to lose my mind if Juve pulls this out, and I'm going to laugh at all those rivals, and I'm going to be the worst guy for any Napoli, Inter, or Milan fans to have on Twitter, because I'm going to let them know every single damn day what they just did. But Lucci,
all 5 Napoli fans?
Lucci,
you want to pull up this Amp comment because it's going to be about true. Oh, geez, man. I am a little optimistic. I think Omer said it perfectly. Like, we're top 4 is very realistic. We want to hope for the Scudetto, but I don't know. All these teams are out of Europe, pretty much out of Europe now. That's all these teams are out of Europe.
It's ground level. We're okay. We're okay if I jump.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine. All these teams are out of Europe, so they're only going to be playing once a week. Some of them in Coppa Italia, whatever. But Napoli, they have Lazio today. They have, I think, Milan next weekend or the weekend after. So they're going to have it tough. If they drop points there, we're right there. So I want to be optimistic. I just our play has not given me. But our play hasn't given me enough to be optimistic about. I just need to see more, man.
Yeah.
I know. Nobody wants to get too high because, if you get brought down, it hurts. But honestly, I said it at the January window. I said this team can make this extremely interesting. Yeah. Like you could see it developing. And I'm like, we can make it very, very interesting. When you have a January window like that, and I know injuries, King Isa brought it up here in the live chat, and he's right. I mean, the injuries make it very, very tough. But I still don't see it as that be-all, end-all that shuts us completely down. The biggest thing is Max is going to have to come a little bit out of his comfort zone and integrate these guys. It's one thing to have, Ake Sule Miretti on the convocati list, but you actually have to find when and where to use him. And this is going to be where Max earns his keep. Agreed, fellas?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
and
at
I
this
would have
point,
hoped he would have played them earlier. So by the time they get to play important matches, they'll have some game time in them and some experience. Maybe the fact that he failed to do so this late in the season could be crucial for us.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be our own worst enemy. That's it. Not these other teams. They'll drop points here and there. We just got to, if we pull out wins, if we don't, it's our own fault, really.
But here's the thing. Like, you can't tell me that these teams ahead of us aren't thinking about it even more once Juve creeps up. Like, it's just like
Absolutely.
we live rent-free in the club's minds, in their president's minds, in their players' minds. Like, you've seen it historically through time. It can't be denied, okay? We live rent-free in their heads. Max did a good job in the first half of the season making us like hang around there and be in striking distance, okay? And I give him credit for that, but I am becoming impatient in us finding our true style and identity. That part's frustrating, but I did applaud him at, working through everything and getting us in striking distance. Now, second half of the season, you start to see these other teams that nobody wants this thing, and they're dropping points here and there and everything. We have an opportunity and we have a favorable schedule, and Max knows it. He knows it. He knows something can happen here. We've talked about the building blocks that we've seen in these matches. He's got to go to it. He's got to get a little bit out of his comfort zone, but make no mistake, the crap he spews to the press conferences and all this, he knows this team can do something crazy this year, because he's watching these other teams and none of them look like convincing champions. Simone Inzaghi might be the biggest clown I've ever seen, because he might take the reigning champs and he just can't take them to a return Scudetto that nobody else wants. Man, Max knows, the players know. We can do something here. Yeah. I'm not crazy. A little bit. But I'm telling you, I wouldn't be surprised, is what I'm saying. And I'm going to be there right to the bitter end.
The most realistic thing right now for me is by the time we get to the last 3 match days, we should be mathematically secured in the top 4. Mm-hmm. That's the realistic thing to take off the pressure. We don't want to get again to the last game day and be dependent on other teams' scores. And that's what Max should aim for. At the moment, he always says that in his pressers, the 85 point is out of reach for us. But I don't think he believes it. And honestly, it kind of feels like he's, very positive in the pressers when we draw, and when we win, he starts pointing out all the issues we have.
I think he's trying to deflect. He's trying to deflect like the pressure off the players and maybe onto other teams, or away. Right?
He's always been good at it. Yeah, he's always defended his players when he needed to, and I give him credit for that. He doesn't throw them under the bus like Mourinho does, like Conte used to do all the time. And even Jerry Mancini, the famous Lazio fan, that Inzaghi is good as long as he has his plan A. When he needs to revert to plan B, that's where he screws up. He did so with Lazio, and he does so right now with Inter. 1 month ago, we would have talked completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So as the time goes by, teams change, and we do have a shot at everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Arun comes in here with a great question that actually segues into the next topic we want to touch on. But first, I have to congratulate Animesh, who won the prediction challenge, yesterday. Animesh, reach out on Twitter, my friend. You've got some stickers. You got the Trezeguet, you got the Gigi coming. I'll throw in the Luca, Bonucci, Marquisio, and a sweet AJC sticker as well. Okay, so reach out, man. Congratulations. You had to beat Anthony, so it wasn't too difficult, but we're all good. We're all good. No, I'm
almost lost one of the
group. He beat all of us. So we're good. Oh, look at this. Alberto Michael
salty loser.
tied for stink. Hey, I tell you what. 2 garbage goals. I called 2-0. I mean, got the third. It shouldn't have been that far off, okay? But yeah, Animesh, congratulations, my friend. Okay, thank you for your continued support. Reach out, and now we will get these stickers sent out for you, okay? Now, as mentioned, Arun had a question and says, hey guys, any news or indication from the management if they are seriously addressing the injury woes of ours? So, a lot of discussion and a lot of speculation. We actually started speculating quite a while ago about the injuries to this team. And Luca actually made a great short video for the YouTube channel in terms of him addressing it. I mean, he was trying to protect. He was trying. Oh, there's our mascot. There's our mascot. Love it. So he was trying to address Ramsey and use Ramsey as the example. We give him a hell of a hard time for his love for junk players, but he was protecting Ramsey in the sense that at what point do we look at the club and the training and the regiments and are we overloading players? It was a fair question at the time. This is not the first time we've seen. This might be the first time I think I've seen it this large in terms of quantity of injuries, but we have become accustomed to constant injuries and always around the crucial times of the season, and it's funny because with some players you say, well, it's this player, this guy is just injury prone and whatnot, and then like you kind of like you pick who you defend, you pick who you don't and whatnot, but meanwhile the story hasn't changed. Come crucial parts of the season, Juve constantly deals with nagging injuries, a lot of muscular ones too. Is there something more we need to look at? Does Juventus need to address the training staff? Like where do we go from here? But I just can't help but feel a team that's bombarded with injuries like this needs to look a little bit deeper. And there are injuries that when you look at, it's just unfortunate,
Yeah.
And there's nothing you could do about it. But the constant muscular ones are the ones that are hard to take because that usually does indicate overloading and muscular fatigue. All this usually overloading. And one of the funny things Anthony and I were both laughing at when we were watching All or Nothing is the fact that you look at our training staff and my God, are they old? We have a bunch of dinosaurs looking after these guys, and I can't help but think, like, are they? I don't know. But here we go. Caio Jorge, a patella rupture. That's unfortunate. That's just incredibly unfortunate. Weston McKennie, we saw ugly challenge, metatarsal fracture, unlucky. I think we could chalk those ones up to unlucky. Chiellini, consistent calf injuries.
That comes with age.
Age, maybe, but constantly. Dybala, thigh problems now. Dybala's had a mess of them.
We really want to touch on that one?
Rugani, problems with the hip flexor. Sandro now, calf injury. And then Chiesa had, obviously, the cruciate ligament rupture. So, I don't know. I see a lot of misfortune in there.
Yep.
I see a lot of misfortune in there, and I don't know necessarily if a lot of those, like, what are you going to do to prevent them? And again, we ask that a lot of these guys in there get the minutes and are the starters, are key guys, like they go in it. So you can't take minutes away. Maybe it is something to do with the recuperation and whatnot between games and stuff. I don't really know, but guys, what are your thoughts? Like, do they have to look deeper? Are we just extremely unlucky?
I think so. I think it's hard to really blame the training staff if you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Like we said, there's a few freak injuries. Dybala always picks up something around, every couple months. I don't know. It's tough to say. What are you supposed to do? That you just got to take days off?
So Alex P says it's suspect, but not sure if it's just down to the individuals. And he says, I don't think Juve are being honest with their injury reports. I'd have to say a prime example of that is Bernardeschi. Like, that's a weird one to me. Like, muscular for a guy who's been very, very available throughout the 4 years, whatnot, like always available, to have muscular fatigue and be out. It's been a month, I think. That's weird to me, man. Something's not adding up there. Omar, what do you think in this whole injury thing? Oh, he froze out. Bad timing.
Yeah, the Brno one is weird though. I'll give you that.
The Brno one is super, super weird. So I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of with Alex P here on this one, where I don't think everything adds up. I don't think everything adds up. I don't know. We don't know enough in behind the scenes to really say like flat out it's Juve's staff. Exactly. It's how they train. It's everything. Anthony's sticking to it that they're dinosaurs and they need to bring it up a notch. But I can't. Can we honestly think that Juve's staff is not up on the sports science side of things? Like, I mean, with the resources, like that would just be embarrassing.
Not that I disagree with Anthony. Maybe going a little younger would be a good route, but you can't blame them for Cowherd. Hey, you can't blame them for Chiesa. You can't blame them for McKennie. So, that's half of the injuries right there. Chiellini's another one that happens every year. So, I don't know.
Omar, sorry you cut out there. Let's go. Your thoughts on this injury thing?
Like I said, some of them are mainly unlucky, but some of them are weird. Like Rugani, a player who doesn't play that much, suddenly has muscle fatigue in a warm-up to a game. Then the Bernardeschi stuff you mentioned, which was initially 10 days and it's been going on for like a month. And muscle fatigue passes, pretty quickly. It's not something that keeps, prolonging itself. So there is an issue there. It's been going on for a long time, and we are a big team who play on all fronts, and every team has to deal with this, every big team, because our players go to international matches and they play a lot. So the league and UEFA and FIFA doesn't give them any benefits. And okay, Chiellini is old and it's a recurring injury. So does Dybala. It's mainly our starters that are the issue, because every time they get healthy, they are thrown right back into the starting 11 and then gets injured again, which is due to man management of the staff. But some of these injuries are super weird. Like Zakaria, after 30 minutes, he hasn't even played that much since he landed in Turin. So you have to question the management. If Zakaria is injured after 30 minutes with no collision or nothing, then he wasn't assessed properly before the game and during training. Same goes for Bernardeschi and Rugani. And Bonucci does look injured too.
And another thing that a lot of people I don't think are factoring in too is that how much information are these players letting out when the training staff is talking to them? We have to remember there's a lot in the contracts that we don't see, that we don't know. And I can't help but think that sometimes a guy's got an appearance bonus or something like that. That's like, oh, I got to play if I'm going to start, whatever. Oh, yeah, I'm a little bothered. It's fine. I'll be okay. Or no, I don't feel any pain. Like that part circles through my head at times, that there's incentives there that might affect how much information a player gives that staff member. You guys, that's not crazy to think either. I mean, It's their livelihood. It's their money. It's their bonuses. I mean, you see it all the time in other sports as well, where guys will play through things to try and hit incentives. It's crazy. And then you have the players that are just built that way, that want to be in the lineup, that will do whatever it takes to be in there and will sacrifice themselves. We saw that from Bonucci in the All or Nothing. He literally came out and said, this is on me. I made myself go out there. I should have told him that, yeah, you're right. I don't want to go out. So I'm not doubting that happens a lot either.
Yeah, It happens. I'm sure it happens. I'm sure it comes from drive and will to play, and not from a bad spot. But there are players. It's the way you manage yourself when you're injured, and what do you do to get back quicker. Because there's a reason Cuadrado is never injured. There's a reason Ronaldo is never injured, although playing 90 minutes every game. Even Rabiot. And like,
Wow.
I don't want to get too much into the Dybala thing, but if you have time while you're injured, not taking care of yourself and going to fashion shows and stuff, then
Oh,
yeah,
here we
it's
go.
annoying. Yeah, it's okay. It's his right to do whatever he wants. I won't say players need to stay at home when they're injured, but there's a certain level of taking care of yourself while you're injured to
Thank you,
get back
Omer.
as fast as possible. And it doesn't seem like some of them are making an effort. And the
Thank
same
you.
goes for Bernardeschi, maybe. A 10-day
Our
injury prolonged to a month, something.
Omar, you are a smart man. I'll tell you, you're a
Yeah,
smart man, because you know exactly what you're doing right now. You are going to
yeah, I
open this
know.
up so that Lucci and I can go at it on a fashion show.
Be my guest. Go at it.
Lucci,
I agree with
myself.
Omer 100%.
dude, come. Is he at risk of breaking an ankle at a fashion show? He's not walking up and
No.
down the runway. He's just
He was
going
walking
through
on the
his
pitch
screen
and he
with
hurt
his
himself,
girlfriend.
so maybe it's the same thing.
What?
When he got injured, he pulled himself off because he was, gingerly, running around, and then he pulled himself off. So who knows? Maybe he's gonna hurt himself
Come
walking on the
on,
runway.
man. I think we're a victim of the circumstances and what's been going around lately with Paulo. I mean, come on. There's been players that do a lot of things, and I mean, I've heard some of the stories behind the scenes on old like Juve greats, and behind the scenes and partying and stuff like that. I don't see any harm in him going to a fashion show. I mean, does one night with a girlfriend really hinder the rehab or the
Then
treatment?
why
I
do we
don't. I
never
don't.
see? Then why do we never see Chiellini does that type of stuff when he knows he's injury prone and most of the time he's out? You never see this stuff.
I
I
don't think
believe, takes
Chiellini's
care of himself.
followed around as closely lately because again of all the circumstances surrounding Dybala right now, and it just profiles like as great as Chiellini is, like in today's modern football, there's a certain type of player that gets followed and gets that coverage, and Dybala is one of those. And again, it's a fashion show. I mean, I don't see Chiellini, from everything I've seen from him there, being the guy that would go to any of these events that has that
No,
paparazzi around there or anything. So
he isn't. But the way he treats himself, like he had an ACL injury at the age of what was it, 35, and he came back much earlier. Same goes for Demiral. Locatelli played most minutes out of all the team. De Ligt had a horrible, what was it, like his shoulder injury, and he came back much earlier than predicted because they conducted themselves properly while they were injured. And I don't think Dybala does the same. I won't
I
say.
agree.
here's the thing. I
100%.
think we're looking way too much in. Dybala goes to this thing every year, you guys.
And
It's just
enjoy-
a fashion show.
Okay,
The other thing is
enjoy
too
yourself.
this. When Paulo Dybala was frustrated with the 1 year where it was his lowest amount of appearances, what did he do all that summer? What did you see? He actually he came here to North America and trained intensely with a trainer down there in the States to get in peak physical condition. He spent
And
his
then he got
entire
hurt
summer
again.
doing that. I'm not saying this guy is not dedicated to rehab. Everything he's done kind of shows he has. One night at a fashion show with his girlfriend doesn't change that, in my personal opinion, regardless of what other players do. And if you really want to get down to it, there's players that have done a hell of a lot worse, and they're idiots. But I
they're
just
looked
don't
at
see
it that way.
I don't see a
course.
fashion show. I don't see a fashion show with his girlfriend as being this big thing like, oh, you need to be in rehab. It doesn't affect his rehab.
No, it doesn't. But there's some. You're the vice captain of Juve, and with the amount Chiellini is injured, you should be an example. You're not a young kid
Yes,
anymore. And
exactly.
I'm kind of frustrated with seeing him taking that Neymar route instead of that Ronaldo route of keep being a professional. And I don't want him to be that player because I love him.
Well,
I
if we
don't
want to
him
get
be that
into
guy who's
the
always missing.
Ronaldo approach, So do we bring up breaking protocol to go snowmobiling with Georgina? Do we bring that up?
Yes.
Do we bring up leaving the stadium after being a sub? Do we bring up, like, come on, guys? It's one night at a fashion show. I'm done. One night fashion. You guys
Did you
say
like how the
he
lady
needs to
fixed
be
his
better.
jacket for him too? Were you okay with that too?
What?
When the lady had to go fix his jacket for him when he called
Well,
her
you
over?
should be happy with it, Lucci's in rehab. Don't overstrain yourself.
Oh, come on.
Okay, let's get to the next topic. Next topic is
I love getting you riled up. I love it.
I love it. I love it too. I love giving it to you guys. Okay, so here we go. Kulusevski. Okay, the guy's having a decent start to life at Tottenham, and now I've seen multiple tweets where it's bringing up his stats, doing all this, and it's like, guys, for me, it's really simple. I don't even care what he does now. We did not see it at Juventus. Move on. It's fine. He can excel. He can be incredible. But the point of the matter is we didn't see it here. The only way it bothers me is if we would continuously be sending guys out and they excel. Then there's something deeper to look at. But right now, this is not one of those scenarios. I don't think to look any further into this. Kulusevski was expendable based on our roster and based what he was giving us. And I think it was best for both parties to do it. And I'm kind of done with it. And I don't want to hear all this talk about, well, look at what he's doing now, whatever. The other thing is, too, that was big in us bringing in Vlahovic. So stop talking about it. But how do you guys feel about the whole Kulusevski thing? And before Omer and Lucci dive into this, real quick, everybody, storm the barn session, okay? So you have questions, throw them in. Let's get to it, and we will try and tackle a few of those before we wrap her up for today. Guys, the Kulusevski talk. Who wants to take this one first? Lucci?
Yeah, man, I'm happy for him. He's definitely a talented player. We obviously didn't see it too often or much at all, but good for him. He's still young. He's got lots to prove. And I just honestly, I would have liked him to see him in this little trident that Max decided to try out now. I feel like maybe he would have done better than that instead of playing as a whatever the heck he was playing as. I don't know, played in like 10 different positions, but good for him.
Yeah. Omer.
I'm happy for him, but we as Juve fans always like to look, at other teams and players who left us and see how they're doing. We've been following Pogba for so long. We keep bringing up Cancelo and Spinazzola, and this is just stuff fans do. And sometimes there isn't a good chemistry between the manager, the style of play, the other teammates, and it just doesn't work. And it can work with another team and another manager. Memphis Depay was horrible for Manchester United, and he killed it for Lyon. Okay, this stuff happens all the time, and you have to sacrifice. Like, ask all the guys who say Kulusevski should have stayed. Would you take Kulusevski over Vlahovic? Do you think he would have given us the same thing? And Cancelo, if Cancelo stays, no delict. I promise you that. Okay, there's just some stuff you need to do in order to get better players, and just be happy for him. He's still a kid, and we need him to do good because he's still on a loan with obligation to buy under certain conditions.
Yep.
So if he does bad, he goes right back to Juve, and then it's a lose-lose for us, for Tottenham, and for Kulusevski himself. We need him to do good, stay at Tottenham, and just get the money and prepare for next season without him. That's it.
There you go. Sums it up. Storm the barn. You guys ready?
Let's do it.
Because we have three mids, are we going to see a 4-2-3-1 now when Bern and Dybala join us soon? Reports saying they are going to be available for Spezia. 4-2-3-1.
I'm on this train.
I wouldn't be against it. But given the way we play, it kind of has me against it. Because I think like we haven't shown the initiative to play in a way that makes the 4-2-3-1 really tick, to be honest. But I'm not against it. I'm not against, trying it or whatnot. But do we, in trying this, start to get away from some of those building blocks that we saw that we can maybe push forward with? It's kind of weird when it's almost like would we be going back to square one, do you think, if we tried this?
Look, the issue with a 4-2-3-1 is if you don't have the right player, which for us is only Dybala, maybe McKennie for that CAM role,
I
then
disagree.
it becomes a 4-4-2. It can easily become a 4-4-2 with just 2 strikers and 2 midfielders, and you need a proper CAM to play there. So it's risky. Like, we've seen it a couple of times this season, and it didn't look like a 4-2-3-1 at any point. And no Lucatelli and Arthur. Like, the matches in midfield weren't, didn't have good chemistry and didn't just look good together.
Yeah.
I actually agree with Alexa here, saying it all depends on who's available, which is 100% true. But Berna can also play in that cam role and have either, if Dybala is not available, which he too often isn't. You have, yes, we're tight on the wings, but also those wingers can also drop back. So then you don't have Dybala or whoever else is playing in that hole drop back so much. So I guess in defensive phases, it's more like a 4-4-2, but going forward, it should give you more,
Yeah, for me, like the way I see this team, the way I see us playing, and I don't necessarily have the full confidence in the 4-2-3-1. I think we need the base 3 central midfielders. I know it sucks because we're down, but you have Miretti. You can't have some fear there. I think you can also utilize Bernardeschi out of one of those roles. He's very versatile. You can use Quadrado as well, and it gives you some versatility. So Danilo is another guy, highly versatile. There's options there to work with. I still remain stubborn, if you guys want to call me on that we have to have a 3 central midfielder base, in my personal opinion, with this team and just how we play. I'll stick with that. Omer, did you want to touch on that?
No, I agree with you. The 3-man midfield is still the way to go for me.
Yeah. So a little bit split on that one. Next one, Animesh. Given our emergency in midfield, is it worth playing Danilo and moving Quadrado to right back? So, again, this is one of the options. I'm not scared to do that. I just brought it up there. I think if it maintains our 3 central mid base, I'm okay with it. Are you okay with that, Luch?
I'm okay, but I wouldn't play him alongside Artur. I think it would be one or the other in that position, in that whole CDM area.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Omer, any fear in deploying Danilo in the central midfield?
Yeah, because it usually means all 3 of our right backs are in the lineup, which leaves either Sandro or Pellegrini on the bench, and that's not good cover-up, in my opinion. And I liked him there. Okay, when he played under Pirlo, I liked seeing him there. It was good. Just the amount of injuries doesn't give us, too much space to work with, unfortunately.
Yeah. So you're just nervous because it would mean Quadrado's in and Danilo's in, and then you only have like De Sciglio.
And De Sciglio is in because you still need a right winger, and you have no one except for Quadrado.
Yeah, it's interesting. Wow. It's interesting. Again, I think it goes back to what Lex was saying in terms of
if Dybala's there,
who's in the lineup and everything. So interesting. Alex P, does Dybala dress like a hobo? And why does he need to be at a fast show if he looks like he looks? Oh, come on.
He's got to make his girlfriend happy. That's why.
If you don't like his style, that's one thing. But is what it is. Will Max's long ball strategy continue to work? Will Dusan carry us forever? I don't think it's a way to make a living. I think we need to expand, evolve. The biggest thing I continuously see with this team is we do not attack space, right? And again, when you see strong counter-attacking teams, the outsides are bombing and the switch field is there. And that the quickest way is to attack space. And we do not do a good job of attacking the space. So I don't see this strategy as being the be-all, end-all. I think we need to evolve. That's just my quick answer on it. You guys?
I hate it. I mentioned this yesterday. Bothers me so much.
Yeah.
I've already seen it against, who was it, 2 games ago? I don't remember. And I ask you, does this kick it to Dushan style of play will work? And it it can work. Inter won a championship on it, just kicking it up to Lukaku, but it's not a pretty style of play to watch. It's pretty irritating actually, and teams kind of figure it out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Torino had a number. Bremer never left Dusan
Exactly.
for 1 second, and that's it. It was out of the game.
Yeah. The other thing to consider too is I think it could be easier if we didn't have such a massive gap between our forwards and our midfield. There was a big gap that was there yesterday against Empoli, and it forced Dushan's hand to incredible work. And luckily for us, he did, and we survived it. But that gap was massive. Our D and our mids were so far back. You pump it up, and he's got absolutely nothing to work with. And it's easy for them because the opposition can just swarm him with all their players because there's nobody else up there. It's Vlahovic and King. So
our defense needs to play a lot higher.
we need to pick up that line. We need to ramp it up a bit. Agreed 100% there. Anthony wants a hashtag for the prediction game that we play on Matchday Live. So he's putting it out for everyone here in the live chat. Come on. And if you're on Twitter, join it. We will pick one. And if we pick the name that you give us for the prediction challenge, we'll send you a set of stickers, the Trezeguet, Gigi, and a bunch of other random ones that we have. Now, which trophy do you guys feel we have a strong chance of winning this season? Scudetto.
Ali's on that tray.
Copa.
Safekeeping. This bad boy. We're going to get it. I don't know if you guys believe, but, I mean, hell, if you do, it could be this one.
Yeah, when did you win?
Do you guys believe
Champions
in this one?
League? Yeah.
No.
I'm
with Ant on this one.
Oh. Okay.
No. Look.
Looks nice, though.
Down. I didn't know how
this one?
A little more.
This one I know. This one I'm familiar with. The other one was kind of weird to me. But I'm gonna say all three. Crazier than now.
Look.
Wow.
No, Copa is the realistic.
Guys, honestly, I like guilty as charged if I'm a little crazy and way too optimistic at times, but I'm telling you, I can see this thing unfolding. And we got to do something crazy. We got to do something big if Juve pulls this thing out and wins this Scudetto. We got to do something. We got to do something big. Something big. Jerseys. We do a lot of jerseys. We give away a lot of jerseys. I think we've given up since we started this podcast 24 jerseys.
Jeez.
So we got to come up with something big. Let's come up with something big, and maybe we'll allow our subscribers and our followers to help us out there. So we need a name for the prediction challenge. Okay, if we pick yours, we'll send you some stickers. Let's come up with something big together if Juve pulls this one out. But what do you guys honestly think? What do you have most faith in? For me, based on how we play and whatnot, I could see us taking the Coppa Italia. I'm quite confident in the Coppa Italia. And I would not be surprised with the Scudetto at all, to be honest with you. People can call me crazy. I've heard all the things out there that, look, we're not in the running. We're close, but we're not in that race. I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a second. But, the Champions League is a lot of luck. And the injuries and whatnot, I think we can get by in the Coppa Italia, and because it's just a couple knockouts now in the final. But Serie A, I still say we can manage it given the injuries still. The Champions League will be very, very difficult in my personal opinion. But I'm pretty confident in the Coppa Italia, and the Scudetto race is far from over. That's all I'm going to say. You guys.
I think you nailed it. I'm on the Copa. I think we'll get past Villarreal, but we might not make it much farther than that.
Yeah.
Scudetto, I don't want to
yeah.
jinx anything, so it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah.
Look, betting on tournaments like Coppa Italia and Champions League is it's always like a big bet because eventually you depend on one team that plays against you each time, each game at a time. Where the Scudetto depends on a lot of different factors
Mm-hmm.
around you that has nothing to do with you. We depend on Milan versus Napoli, for example. So it's even a crazier bet than the Coppa Italia, which I'm not willing to take. So I'll go with Coppa Italia is the sure thing right now. The others are up for grabs for anyone at the moment. All top five teams for the Scudetto.
Yeah. So we got Mad Max is here. Douche on the loose. We're going places, lads. Animesh, if Max wins 3 with this team, he should have a statue erected in the middle of Juve
I do agree
Stadium.
with that. For
I'll
sure.
tell you what. Put one outside my house if he pulls a treble with these guys, okay? But here's the thing that I can't help to fall back on. All these rivals, all these fans, all these teams, they're so jacked up. They're so jacked up early in the season. They're jacked up on this. They were jacked up on us being down and whatnot. And the thing with us is we know because we've seen the team, we've seen the incredible run, the decade of dominance. We know what it takes. We know what level you got to be at. We know we haven't been our best. Despite us not being our best, we're right there. This is the thing that gives me the hope is that we have a favorable lineup. We're not far off from something that I think is actually capable of stringing together that closeout to the season that we need. We're not far off from it. And those guys don't have it. I know what it takes to win these titles and whatnot. I'm looking at these teams and I'm like, they are not that far ahead of us. And I will not buy into anything Max says or anything anybody's saying on social media or anything. I'm seeing it with my own eyes. Nobody wants this thing. Let's go out and steal the damn thing. And let's have a second coming of Cinque Maggio. Let's go. Let's go. I'm going to hold the faith. I'm going to be that guy. And Lucci, you ain't stopping me, okay? You ain't stopping me. You ain't bringing me down from this, okay?
Fair enough.
I'm riding it out. Next up, Coppa Italia against Fiorentina, okay? Vlahovic is going to make Rocco Comiso cry more than when he cried when Chiesa didn't call him to say goodbye, okay? It starts there. We'll be here for you with a match day live. Lucci and Omer, always a pleasure. Had a lot of fun, okay? And now I know that Lucci and I are going to battle in the group chat about Bala and the fashion show, and it's going to be a great time. But everybody in the live, you guys have been awesome. Fantastic as always. Thank you for the continued support. Everybody listening to this podcast on audio, get over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, okay? That's where all the fun comes. Check out Lucci's sick striped heart zip up, guys. Show some love to the pod and the channel. Get yourself some cool merch at the same time. We'll be back 8:30 a.m. Eastern time on match day for Coppa Italia semifinal first leg against Fiorentina. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. Finally got a nice win to discuss. Well, a win to discuss on the pod. Let's keep it rolling and let's laugh at those clowns as we continue to just slowly claw back in Serie A. I don't think it's going to be too far off for Juve before we get back there, even if it isn't this season. We're going places. We're going places. Max, you got a little bit more to dial up, but I will continue to have faith. Fino alla fine, Forza Juventus. Ciao tutti. Like the video if you haven't already. Ciao.